I'd like to kind of start with the basics here and think about, why do women and girls have periods?
Okay, so I've got a little prop here. It's a uterus. That's what's in the center. On both sides are two tubes, and just under them are two ovaries. And so women and girls get periods every month because this ovary here, or this one, produces an egg every month. And in response to the egg, the lining of the womb prepares for a possible pregnancy. So each month, as the egg is maturing within the ovary, the lining of the womb is preparing for a pregnancy and growing thicker and thicker like a soft cushion. When the egg is released, it gets into the tube and travels to the uterus. However, not all months result in pregnancy. And so when there isn't a pregnancy, this lining that has formed inside the womb then sheds through the vagina out as bleeding. And that is what constitutes a period. For most girls, periods start somewhere between 8 and 16 years of age. That is called the menarche, or the first period. Women will continue to have periods throughout the time when there are eggs in their ovaries, until they reach the point of menopause, which is when their periods stop, usually somewhere between 46 to 55 years of age. Some of the things to think about when you have a period is what sort of hygiene products you use. And there are different options available. You may or may not have seen tampons, really tiny things. They go into the vagina. So that's where they go. That's your uterus on top, the vagina below. That's where they sit. Or you may have seen various different types of pads. Some come with wings, some come without wings, some are thin, some are thick. There's all sorts of different options available. My advice is use simple cotton pads or tampons. Try out different brands to see what works best for you before you make a choice. Some of you may have heard of something called a menstrual cup. This is what a menstrual cup looks like. You can see it's a little cup. And just like the tampon, the menstrual cup also sits in the vagina, so it goes in here and collects the blood. The advantage of this menstrual cup is that it is not disposable, and so it can be reused. So you spend whatever money you spend on buying this cup once, and you can use it for many, many years after. It's really easy to use. There's lots of research that suggests it's safe, so this might be a good option if you want to try it out. Some women feel uncomfortable about putting things into the vagina, and that is understandable. So you don't have to use a tampon or a menstrual cup. Pads work absolutely fine as well.
Mhm. And so, Nisha, how often do you have to change, your pads and your cups and everything?
So the recommendation or the thinking is that once you start to feel wet, that's time to change. And if you are using a tampon, make sure that you change it at least every 8 hours. Because one of the things that can happen sometimes with a tampon is that you forget about it. And if you forget about it, that can cause really bad infections. And so it's really important to remember, almost set yourself a timer that it's 8 hours and the tampon needs to come out. But otherwise, as a general rule, once you start to feel wet, that's a good time to change.
Right. And is it safe to sleep with a tampon in, or would you prefer to use pads?
Absolutely. It's safe to use a tampon at any point. You can use it when you're sleeping, you can use it when swimming, things like that. So they're absolutely safe to use as long as you remember to remove them out in time.
Yeah. Right. And so, women tend to have different sort of flows of periods, right? Sometimes heavy, sometimes light. What's considered normal?
So normally what we say is that in a whole period, a woman loses about 80 mils of blood. So if you think about your measuring cup, you generally measure about 100 mils of water to add to things. And so it's slightly less than that. The problem with that is that nobody's measuring how much blood women lose. And so what we say usually is that the first 2 or 3 days tend to be heavier than the following days. You should not lose clots that are more than 3 centimeters in size. So if you think about it, about that size of clot. If you're losing blood that doesn't clot, that clots, that suggests that there might be excessive bleeding. If you're finding that you're changing your pads every few hours, 2 to 3 hours, then that might suggest that your period is heavy. Also, if you find that despite using things like double protection, so some women will use a tampon and a pad and will still leak through the protection they're using. That might be another suggestion that your periods are heavier than what would be normally expected. Remember that you're losing blood, and if you lose blood, that's going to affect your blood count. And so if you are losing a lot of blood every month, you might start to feel tired, you might feel lethargic, you feel you don't want to do things, you don't feel as energetic, and that might be the only sign you have of a heavy period and the fact that you're losing a lot of blood.
Right. And so do people experience heavier cramps or more strong cramps if they're experiencing like a more severe loss of blood?
Not necessarily, but yes, some women can. What's happening is that when your uterus is trying to remove clots, it's contracting. So it's almost like something like a labor. The uterus is made up of a muscle, and when that muscle contracts, you can get pain. And that's what the cramping is all about. And so if you have heavy periods, especially if you're losing clots, the muscle in your uterus is contracting and clamping down to push them out, and that might cause cramps.
Right. Okay. And so, what are some options then if women experience heavier periods than what they would consider normal? What can they do about it?
So, first of all, if they think their periods are heavier than normal, the first port of call would be to contact their GP, their own doctor, and have a discussion with their GP about what their periods are like. Are they regular? Are they irregular? And what are some of the options that they might have for investigation and treatment? Some of it depends on how old you are when you have heavy periods. So for young girls starting out with their periods, it's quite common for them to have irregular, heavy periods with a lot of cramping. And this is happening because their ovaries haven't quite gotten into the pattern of producing an egg every month. And so when the egg is not produced, then that gives that irregularity of the cycle and heavy periods. For most of these young girls, there's no pathology. There's nothing wrong with them. This is just a normal way of their body settling. Similar things can happen later on when you get close to menopause. Again, your ovaries are not producing eggs every month, and so similarly, you can have irregular periods. Not all women who have heavy periods need to have, special investigations or tests or anything like that. For most women, if you're feeling lethargic, if you're feeling tired, then it's worth doing a blood count just to check if your iron levels are low and if you need them to be replaced. You may or may not need an ultrasound scan to check to see if everything is well with the womb and with the ovaries. Not necessarily, though. Not all women will need an ultrasound scan. Some of the simplest things that we can do to manage heavy periods is to use some drugs which are called non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents. Now, it's a long name. Don't be put off by the long name. It's essentially just tablets. They don't have any hormones in them because I know lots of women are worried about taking hormones. And they can reduce the amount of blood loss by about a third. So they work really well. They're taken only during the periods. They can sometimes cause a tummy upset, but by and large, they're very safe to take. So that's kind of the first line of treatment, if you like, for heavy periods, especially in young girls when they're just starting out to have their periods. There are a few other options, and those involve hormones. One of the easiest hormonal options is to use the pill, the oral contraceptive pill, or the pill that has both estrogen and progesterone in it. So the two hormones that are produced normally by the ovary. And all that does is that it makes the cycle regular and it reduces the amount of bleeding that happens. If estrogen is something that may be contraindicated in some women, and there is a list of reasons why you can't take estrogen, then the option is to take just progesterone by itself. Now, taking progesterone by itself, again, it can be in tablet form, or there are other forms that are really, really effective when it comes to giving progesterone in that situation where there are heavy periods. And one of the most effective ways of giving progesterone or using progesterone is to use this lovely device, which is called the intrauterine device. I hope you can see it. I'm going to hold it up there. It's a small little coil, and it goes into the uterus or the womb. And it sits inside the womb very comfortably. Hang on a minute. There you go. So that's the womb, and that's the device sitting inside the womb. And what it does is that it makes the lining of the womb thin. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that then, because the lining is thin, you bleed less. Also, for some women, you might not have a period at all because the lining is so thin that you don't have a period. Now, sometimes I get asked, isn't that not good? As in, there's this concept of having a period is good for your body. It gets rid of toxins and it makes you feel better. But actually, there is no research for that at all. There's no reason why having a period is good for you. In fact, having heavy periods is not good for you because it lowers your iron levels. But certainly, there is nothing to suggest that if you don't have a period, you're going to retain some toxins and fall sick or anything of that sort. So it's absolutely fine to use the coil and to not have periods.
Right. And so is it normal then to skip a period or have periods at kind of different times in your life and you might miss a few months and that kind of thing?
Yes, that is absolutely right. But remember that one of the most important reasons to skip a period is pregnancy. And so, if you are in that situation where you might be pregnant, that is a good time to test and see if you may be pregnant. But absolutely, there are times when you might miss a period. And some of the things that have been associated with missed periods are simple things like stress. For young girls, there's an exam coming up, a year 12 VCE exam. The stress of that can cause a period to be skipped or missed or send all of your cycles haywire. So that can happen. For some women, it has to do with rapid weight loss. So if somebody's gone on a diet and exercise regime and has lost a whole lot of weight in a short time, that might also be a reason why they might skip a period. But my top tip is if you think you might be pregnant, test to see if you're pregnant.
Absolutely, 100%. And so you kind of mentioned that people get stressed and they might not have their periods at a normal time. Is it normal then once, that stressor or that kind of difficult event has passed for your periods just go back to their regular cycle?
That's right, yes. So for most people, once the stress is gone, their periods will go back to a regular cycle. If they don't, then it is worthwhile, again, contacting your GP and your local doctor to find out if there's anything else going on that might be a reason for why your periods may not be regular.
Mhm.
One of the common causes for irregular periods might be a thyroid disorder. And so that is a very simple blood test that your own doctor can organize and will also organize management if it's required.
Great. Thanks, Nisha. And so, one of the worst things I find about having periods is not so much the blood loss itself, it's all the kind of things that accompany it, like PMS, so premenstrual syndrome. Can you
Yes.
speak a bit about that and what it involves?
So PMS is, like you said, a combination of symptoms that occurs sort of around your period. Hence, it's called premenstrual or perimenstrual syndrome. It generally tends to happen before you actually start bleeding. And you can have things like bloating. Some women have diarrhea. Many women experience mood swings, headaches, breast tenderness. Those are sort of the common symptoms. Now, there's a range of different things that could work, and some of the simplest things that you can do if you are suffering from premenstrual syndrome is to find out if there are any triggers. And for some women, the triggers will be chocolate, will be things like coffee. I know it sounds awful, isn't it, asking people to give up coffee and chocolate because they have PMS? But that might be a trigger, and it might be just worth avoiding those triggers for those few days. Some of the other things that help is just a regular, sensible, healthy diet, getting out and getting some exercise. And I don't mean, like heavy, strenuous exercise, just even going out for a walk regularly. Things like yoga that, help you deal with some of those symptoms might help as well. And then, of course, there's drug management. Now, for most women, drugs are something that they would go, oh my God, I don't want to take even more medication. And that's understandable. But some of the easy things that work are calcium. And so that's, a lot of women take supplements of various types at various times, and taking some extra calcium might help with those symptoms. There are other drugs that can be used as well, not very commonly used. And of course, sometimes it might just be avoiding the cycle completely might deal with the premenstrual syndrome as well. So things like using the oral contraceptive pill and using it back to back for 3 months in a row might be something that helps with the premenstrual symptoms.
Right. So, things like supplements, is that something that you would recommend or not really? So, like even
So not
people.
Not really, because some women will say that, yes, I've taken it and it has worked for me. But what we don't have is a lot of research around whether it works for everyone, and also whether it doesn't cause any side effects for everyone. And all of these supplements are expensive. So if you are going to spend a whole lot of money on these expensive supplements that don't work for you, then that doesn't seem like a reasonable thing to do at all.
Mm-hmm.
Tala, do you have some
No,
suggestions for
I agree with
PMS?
what you've said. I think that that's very sensible. Yes. No,
Mhm.
no extras ones.
Unfortunately, no. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. And so you mentioned that exercise can help when you're managing these sort of symptoms. Is that something you would recommend in general while you're on your period? Some people say, exercise helps with cramps and that kind of thing. Is that something you find to be true?
Yes, absolutely. So what research shows is that actually keeping up with a regular exercise regimen is good for you on the whole. There's no doubt about it, of course, but it's really good in helping deal with PMS symptoms, deal with menstrual cramps, and generally make you feel well. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be that you run a marathon. It can just be going out for a walk, making sure you get those 10,000 steps a day, making sure you get out for at least 30 minutes. And, getting into the fresh air, sunshine is good for all of us, for our mental health, but it certainly helps with those symptoms. And a period is not a reason to not do exercise. I know, again, that there are lots of misconceptions around, you shouldn't be exercising during your period, you shouldn't be having sex during your period, things like that. But none of these actually have any evidence behind them.
And so something else I've noticed, for example, just walking in the supermarket, there have been a lot of products now that are very much advertised to women in terms of, personal hygiene and that kind of thing. And so recommending, using scented products on your vagina, for example. Is that something you would find to be healthy? Is that safe?
Please don't use any products that are called feminine hygiene products. You don't need them. Your vagina is a self-cleansing organ. What it does is that it keeps itself clean, it cleans itself out. You don't need to do anything other than wash with warm water. In fact, it's probably best to even avoid soap down there because the skin there is delicate and you don't need soap to clean it. Just use warm water, and definitely don't use wipes, feminine washes, douches, scented products. None of them are necessary and in fact can cause harm because they can cause skin irritation.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these products, Amanda, are not tested by TGA, by our Therapeutic Goods and organization that actually gatekeeps a lot of medical products for use in Australia. And also, I would say be vigilant around things that you just order over the internet. You actually do not know how safe these products are. And you might be spending money and doing yourself a disservice by using something that hasn't really been tested much in that space.
In the interest of time, we might sort of kind of wrap things up now. And I was wondering if there's one thing that you wish women knew about their periods, what would it be?
I wish women knew that periods are just a part of normal stuff. It is a part of your body preparing every month for a pregnancy. That is all it is. There is no scientific basis for having a period every month other than the fact that your body is preparing for pregnancy. And so not having a period is not dangerous.
And having heavy periods, there's a lot that we can do in that space to help you, especially if you're getting anemic. You don't need to just put up with it. Like Nisha said, such a long list of things that we can do. Please reach out for help. We don't want to miss the cancer. We also don't want you to be anemic when this is a problem with a solution. We can help you with medical managements. We can help you with surgical managements. If you're perimenopausal, or menopausal and having menopausal symptoms, there's a lot menopause hormone replacement can do for you in that space. And there are more and more easier ways to take it. So we can, for example, give it through the skin, through patches, or through creams, or tablets, or something in the uterus, like we mentioned. So please reach out for the support that is there. We want to look after you so that your quality of life is amazing.